Hello and welcome to another instalment of our Buying for Beginners series, and this time we're taking a look at one of the many factions which had their model range drastically reduced when Games Workshop moved over to AOS, and that is the High Elves. Now, like all of our other Buying for Beginner videos, we'll be focusing on 3 competitive army lists and explaining the best value for money options for the units in each of those lists. Almost all of the High Elf range is no longer produced by Games Workshop, which is a real shame as a lot of the kits were quite new and pretty nice, which means that we're going to have to rely pretty heavily on other manufacturers and, for this video in particular, 3D printers. Now, we are of course aware that not everyone has access to a 3D printer, so all of the prices we give you in this video will be for the purchasing of the pre-printed models. If you do have access to a 3D printer, then it will work out a lot cheaper to buy the files and print the models yourself, and it also means you can increase the size of your units for just the cost of some extra resin in the future. And the 2 3D printers that we're going to be using a lot of in today's video are Last Sword and Hollow Miniatures. Now, on to the main event. I'm going to go through some competitive lists and take you through exactly what you need to buy for each unit or character and give you the best cost I could find for each of them. The first list is going to be 1,500 points, the second will be 2,000, and the final one will be a Triple Crown Wargaming event standard 2,500 point list. In each one, I'll try to keep as many of the units and characters the same, so you can slowly build up your High Elf force and not end up with units sitting in a case gathering dust by the end of it. Although I think all of us are guilty of having those units that we used to use and no longer do. So, for the 1,500 point list then that I've got with me today, I've got an Archmage, who's a level 4 wizard on the Law of Shadow, with the Book of Hoeth and the Talisman of Endurance. For heroes, I've got a Noble Battle Standard Bearer with Heavy Armour, the Enchanted Shield, and the Sword of Anti-Heroes. For my core, I've got a single unit of 5 Ellyrian Reavers with bows and spears, and I've got a unit of 24 Lothern Seaguard with full command and shields. In special, I've got a unit of 25 White Lions of Chrace with full command and the banner of the World Dragon. I'm sure no one is surprised that's made an appearance already. And finally, in rare, I have a single Frostheart Phoenix. So we're going to start with the characters first of all then, and we'll start with the Archmage in particular. We're heading straight over to Last Sword for this guy with their Elf Mage. They do have some more sort of thematic and dynamic options for an Elf Wizard, like for instance their Lion Enchantress if you wanted to lean into the Chrace theme, but I'm going to go with this more sort of generic one for today's video. And the pre-printed model is €10, and that is going to be a theme of the Last Sword miniatures. All of their prices are in euros. So I'll give you the price for each model or unit in euros, and then I'll use today's conversion rate to give you a price in pounds for each of the lists. Into the hero slot next, and we have the Noble Battle Standard Bearer. Now we're sticking with Last Sword for this guy, and I think the best option for him is the Prime Draco. He'll fit in really well with the white lions in the list, with his sort of lion headdress, and his, for want of a better word, icon stick. Works great as a battle standard. Like the Elf Mage, this guy is €10 for the pre-printed model. Moving on to core, and we're temporarily moving away from Last Sword for the next unit, and that is the Ellyrian Reavers. Now, the file for this unit was created by Hollow Miniatures, but the pre-printed ones are available from Broder Forge, and they're the Highborn Elves Reavers. They're not the cheapest, over £10 for an individual cavalryman. However, you do get discounts if you buy multiples of 5. So the 5 we need for the list, this first list, come to £39.56. And the other unit from core is the Lothern Seaguard, and we're heading back to Last Sword to pick up the Elven Seaguard. Now, Last Sword sell these in quite odd sizes for fantasy. There are 4 different options available, with each being a different size. They have the Command Group, which is 3 models, and includes a champion, musician, and standard bearer. Rather self-explanatory. The Patrol, which is 4 rank and file models. The Detachment, which is 12 rank and file. And finally, the Regiment, which is 15 models with 12 rank and file and 3 command. For this unit, we'll want 1 regiment and 1 detachment, which will come to €97. That's 55 for the regiment and 42 for the detachment. Next up, we have the White Lions, and again, we're sticking with Last Sword and going for their Lion Guard. Similar to the Sea Guard, these are sold as a command group, patrol, detachment, and regiment. And again, similar to the Sea Guard, we'll need a detachment and a regiment, which comes to €97. Finally, for this first list, we're going over to Games Workshop for the Frostheart Phoenix, one of the very few units that they still produce. This guy comes with the option to mount either an Anointed of Ellyrian or Caradhrian, but for this list we just need the monster. It's £40 from Games Workshop, and it is direct only, so you're unlikely to find it any cheaper from a third party. And that wraps up the first list, and we're up to a total of just over £260. And remember, that's using today's exchange rate, so depending on when you're viewing this or purchasing the models, that could change pretty drastically. That does include 2 spare Seaguard and 1 spare White Lion, and an on-foot character from the Frostheart Phoenix kit, as if you don't choose to mount either an Anointed or Caradhrian, then you can build one of them on foot. Next, I'm going to move on to the 2,000 point list. This, again, has an Archmage who is a level 4 wizard, although this time on the Law of Life. And once again, they have the Book of Hoeth and Talisman of Endurance. In the hero slot, I have the same Noble Well Standard Bearer with Heavy Armour, Enchanted Shield, and Sword of Anti-Heroes. I also have a level 2 Mage on the Law of High Magic with the Golden Crown of Atrazar and a Dispel Scroll. In core, I have 2 units of 5 Ellyrian Reavers this time, both with bows and spears, and the same unit of 24 Lothern Seaguard with full command and shields. Into special, and the white lines are back. This time though, there's 26 of them, and again they have full command and the banner of the World Dragon. And don't worry, you won't need to buy any more models from the first list for this unit, as we had one spare anyway. Into rare then, I have 2 Frostheart Phoenixes. So, what do you need to add to this list over the first? Well, we've already got the vast majority of it, to be honest. All we need is another wizard, 5 more Ellyrian Reavers, and another Frostheart. So, for the extra wizard, you could, of course, go with the same elf mage we picked up for the first list, but that would mean your 2 characters would look identical, bar maybe, some variation in the painting. If you do want something that looks a bit different, though, you can go with the Dragon Archmage. And again, this guy is €10. He is a bit fancier than the other elf mage, so if you go for one of each, I'd consider using the Archmage as, well, your Archmage, and using the elf mage from the first list as the hero mage. But that's just a personal choice, whichever one you prefer to be your lord. The Ellyrian Reavers we've already looked at from Broder Forge using the Hollow Miniatures file, and like I said in the first list, a Unit 5 will cost you £39.56. If you're going straight for the 2,000 point list, or if you know you're going to want to expand your High Elf force past that 1,500 point list, then I would recommend picking up 10 at once, as you get a little bit more of a discount, with the price of all 10 coming to £68.43. And the last edition is that second Frostheart Phoenix, which is direct only from GW at £40. And that brings us to the end of the 2,000 point list. With those additions, and assuming you've brought 10 of the Ellyrian Reavers at once to get the better price, that will come to around £337. You actually have slightly less options in this list with what you'll have bought already, with just 2 spare Seaguard, and again the on-foot options from the Frostheart kits. For the final list of today's video, yet again we've got an Archmage. This time it's a level 4 wizard on the Law of High Magic. But again, we have the Book of Hoeth and the Talisman of Endurance. In the hero slot, I've got a Noble Battle Standard Bearer with Dragon Armour this time, the Enchanted Shield and the Sword of Anti-Heroes, and I have a level 2 Law of Life Mage, no items. For core, I've added another 5 Ellyrian Reavers with bows and spears to give me 15 in total, and I've upped the unit of 24 Seaguard to 26 to make use of those 2 extra models we've had sitting about since the first list. For my special, I've gone back to a unit of 25 White Lions with full command and the banner of the World Dragon, but alongside them I also have a unit of 23 Phoenix Guard with full command and the Razor Standard. Finally, in rare, I have the same 2 Frostheart Phoenixes as in the second list. There really isn't much to add to this list either, to be honest, just another 5 Ellyrian Reavers and the Phoenix Guard. Unfortunately, you don't get a better discount if you go for 15 Reavers from Broder Forge, so these 5 are going to set you back another $39.56 on top of the last list. The Phoenix Guard are another unit actually, which GW still produce, but unfortunately, like the Frosthearts before them, they are direct only. They are £30 a box for 10, so you will need 3 boxes for this list, adding another £90 to your total. As almost all of the rest of the army is from Last Sword, you could go back to them for the Phoenix Guard as well, as they produce a Flame Keepers unit, which are essentially Phoenix Guard, and they work out the same price as the White Lions and the Sea Guard for this size unit, which is €97. So depending on the exchange rate and things like shipping, you may be able to make a small saving there. But that is it. That is all you need to make the 2,000 point list I went through a moment ago into this 2,500 point list. So what would all that come to? Well, I've assumed you get the Phoenix Guard from Games Workshop, and that would bring the final price to around £465. You will have 7 spare Phoenix Guard, assuming you go down the route of Games Workshop figures, 1 spare Lion Guard, and the same on-foot options from the Frostheart Phoenix kits as last list. Now, a small note of caution is bases. You will need to source these separately for a lot of the models, as a lot of them are supplied with either the incorrect base sizes and shapes or no bases at all, depending on where you get them printed from. I found the best Games Workshop equivalent bases are from Tiny Worlds Wargaming. They all come with a slot on the underside of the base to make magnetising them really simple, and they also sell magnets and movement trays, so you can get everything you need in one place. $3.99 for 20mm square bases, or $14.99 for 100 20mm square bases, both either with or without slots. They're really good value for money, and to base all the models you'd need for these 3 armies would cost you just £26.96. Now that's a set of 100 20mm square bases, a set of 2 chariot bases, and 2 sets of 10 25 by 50mm bases for the cavalry. So what competitive options can you add to this final list? Well, the obvious choice for High Elves are the special characters, really. Now, Games Workshop don't produce any of these anymore, apart from the Kradron in the Frostheart kit, so you will need to look elsewhere, and the most common competitive special character choice is Ellyrian. Last Sword do an Everqueen, which you could use for her quite comfortably. You also have the Sisters of Avalon, which are actually still available from Games Workshop, which pair really nicely with a Handmaiden to give them quick to fire. And although GW don't still produce a Handmaiden, once again, Last Sword are coming to the rescue with either the Queen Maiden or the Queen Maiden with Cloak for a more subdued pose. So I hope today's snippet has helped you understand what we believe are the best choices for a competitive High Elves army. And hopefully it's shown you little ways to save a bit of money too. If you've got any suggestions you think we missed, or if you want to know what we would use for certain units that are no longer available from Games Workshop, head over to any of our socials at Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, or email us directly, all of the links for which are below, and we'll do our best to help you out. Join us next time for another instalment in our Buying for Beginners series, where we'll look at one of the other armies of the Warhammer world, or head back to the Night of the Realm Mustering Ground, where you can find links to all of our other exclusive content.
Remember to tag your friends and like, subscribe and share. Then head over to triplecrownwargaming.com and become a Knight of the Realm today.
What are you doing, mate?
You alright?
Do it for Warhammer!